Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Stay in Titletown Packers podcast. My name is Griff, and you can follow me on Instagram at AllDayPackers, and I'm joined by my good friend Bron, who you can follow on Instagram at Lambo.Leapers, and we're coming back to you with another podcast, and today we have no idea what we're talking about, do we, Bron?
Do we ever, Griff?
Yeah, I guess not. I guess we usually don't. But today, sometimes we have a good idea of what we have a segment planned, we have a theme planned for the episode, but today it just felt like time to record. And it is Tuesday when we are recording this, and I guess we're going to talk a lot about Aaron Rodgers, as we always do. It is Tuesday, and Rodgers was on the McAfee show today. No major news comes out of it, except he's going on his darkness retreat, 4 days in complete darkness, and just alone with his thoughts. So that could be fun, and he said that it's not going to be until after that he will make a decision on whether he's going to play football or not in 2023. Isn't it crazy that he still hasn't made a decision whether he's going to play football? Does anyone really think he's going to retire? Imagine he comes out and says, you know what? This time that I've spent by my lonesome has guided me to make the decision that I will be retiring. Imagine he comes out and says that. That would completely shock me.
Well, I'd certainly like that more than if he was to come out and say, I don't want to play for Green Bay anymore. And Griff, I know
definitely, that would be way better. Imagine he comes out and he's like, I've seen things and I need to go elsewhere and my destiny is in Las Vegas with Davante Adams. Imagine he comes out and says that. That would be heartbreaking.
And that's when I'd go on my darkness retreat, and it wouldn't be my first because I went on one after the 2014 NFC Championship game. I went on one after the 2021 loss, after this year's loss. So this would be my third or fourth partake in the darkness retreat.
Darkness retreat. It sounds like a good time. It really, everyone's dunking on him on Twitter all day, like they usually do. Everyone loves to make fun of Aaron Rodgers. He's an interesting guy, but the darkness retreat is one of his most interesting concepts that he's brought up. I mean, 4 days alone in the woods, in the dark. You're going to have to learn something about yourself at some point. And, again, we're going to talk a lot about Aaron today. And the bombshell report, not even a report, but the bombshell story coming out of this morning was that the betting odds for the first time this offseason have changed quite drastically. And Bron, you know that I have been a firm believer that Rodgers is going to be back in Green Bay in 2023. And a big reason that I thought that was because he is still the betting favorite to be in Green Bay. Not just the betting favorite, but the heavy favorite to be the starting quarterback for the Packers next season. And that gave me a lot of hope because everyone's sitting here talking about what team is he going to play for. He's going to be the Jets quarterback. But I was like, wait, guys. He's still going to be in Green Bay because Vegas is not going to lose this much money. If they thought he was going to be playing elsewhere, he would be plus money to be starting in Green Bay. But he was minus money, He was a heavy favorite to be the starting quarterback of the Packers, and this was a big reason that I thought he was going to be coming back. And then we wake up this morning, and the headline of the Bill Huber Sports Illustrated article was, Packers no longer the favorite to be the team of Aaron Rodgers this season. And that, I was like, oh boy, what is this? It's 8:30 a.m., I'm just waking up, I'm like, what is going on? I opened the article to find out that not only are the Packers no longer the favorite, they are not the second favorite either. They are the third favorite for Aaron Rodgers' team and 2023. The new favorite is the Las Vegas Raiders, because of course they are. Last week it was the Jets. Everyone thought he was going there. Over this weekend now the Raiders are the new team. And the Raiders are minus 450 to be Aaron Rodgers' team in 2023. The Packers are all the way down at plus 600. God, that is insane. What do they know? Do they know anything? Bron, if you want to take us over what has happened this weekend with Davante Adams and Sam Barrington of all people, be my guest.
Well, I would like to point out one thing, that is that now the odds since, and this is just in the last couple hours, Griff, they have once again shifted a little more in the Packers' favor. It's now, instead of minus 450, it's minus 390. For the Raiders. But why have the Raiders' odds swung this far into the direction of Aaron Rodgers? I think a lot of it has to do with Davante's, it's open recruitment by him, and a lot of people think that that's going to sway Aaron, and the way he's been talking and some of the tweets, that he's made it seem like Aaron's coming to Vegas. He's made it seem like
tampering?
Aaron's coming.
Is that tampering?
But the NFL doesn't care. But the problem is that people look at, and Davante did come out. The good thing for Packers fans is Davante came out and said, hey, I am first team all troll. So don't take these tweets too seriously because nothing's serious, nothing's concrete, nothing's happening.
We know that all too well. Remember when he was commenting on Stephon Gilmore's Instagram? He had us all thinking he was going to be a Packer.
So, I mean, that's the right, Griff. So, we look at it and nothing's done. And Aaron has said repeatedly that the only person that knows anything about what he's doing for his future is him, and the only person that's in the loop on that is him, Aaron Rodgers. So I feel like any other consideration of Vegas odds or even what people around the league, team sources, I don't care. None of it matters, really, because we don't know what Aaron wants to do, and Aaron doesn't know what he wants to do. At least I think he knows he wants to play, but I also think he wants to stay in Green Bay, but he's enjoying feeling the love from other teams. He likes feeling wanted. Just everybody does, right? Everybody likes to feel wanted, and he's never been a free agent, so I think he's enjoying this opportunity to take in some of the love from other fans to feel like, hey, listen, like there are teams out there that want me. Even though he had maybe a down year, he hasn't been getting a lot of love in Green Bay since this past season started.
Not by this fan base.
Certainly not, right? And through the COVID year, and he's just been getting hate left and right. So I'm sure that with some of these things going on now where he is not a free agent but other teams want to acquire him, I'm certain that he is enjoying that and taking in that moment and feeling like he wants to be loved a little bit. And that doesn't mean he's going to go to Vegas or go to New York. And the Vegas odds are looking at a lot of things. A lot of different things happened this weekend that would point in the direction of an Aaron Rodgers trade, but none of it really matters at the end of the day. Because, look, Davante said those things were not concrete or not indicating that a move was coming, and he said that himself, right? Former Packers linebacker Sam Barrington tweeted something crazy after, really, he doesn't tweet much, but he tweeted that Aaron Rodgers is going to Vegas and it's done. Source told him.
No,
whatever.
he tweeted that he just spoke to someone who is very in tune with the situation. Rodgers is going to be a Raider in 2023. That was weird. It wasn't just speculation. It was like, and then Davante likes it right after he tweets it, and Sam Barrington hasn't tweeted in, months, weeks? Like, he doesn't tweet. He comes out and tweets this. I took that as he was talking to Davante, and Davante probably told him, yeah, I'm going to try my best to get him over here. You know, it's a dream scenario, as he said at the Pro Bowl, Davante did. I think that's how it went. You know, Davante does follow him on Twitter. Davante follows him on Instagram. I think they're close, and I think he probably hinted, like, yeah, I want Aaron to be a Raider in 2023. We're going to make it happen. But what can Davante do? Nothing.
Right, and then I look at what people were asking him on the golf course, and they're talking about, where are you going to play next year? What team are you going to? And this woman asking him questions during a rain delay goes, what city, what color are you thinking for your new team this year? Just everybody's assuming that he's getting traded, and then he's not shutting any of that down. People think
he's a free agent. People act like he's a free agent, bro. It's crazy.
And Aaron said today, I am under contract with the Packers. People forget this. And it's true. Everybody thinks he's getting traded, and the fact that he's kind of having fun with it and not shutting it down has people thinking that he's just going to get traded. He even said in response to that, I heard a lot from the Raiders fans today, and I'll just say this: the Raiders fans were loud and proud. It's like, okay, but he doesn't want to leave for that team. Would he mesh well with Josh McDaniels as the head coach, who would have screaming matches with Tom Brady of all people? I don't think Josh McDaniels would tolerate any little issue from Aaron. Then I'm not saying Aaron would have issues, but Aaron would not be able to run the show in Vegas.
He would want to bring things
style
to Vegas. He would want to bring things that him and Davante did in Green Bay under McCarthy and LaFleur. He would want to bring some of those things to Vegas. And would McDaniels be okay with any of that? I'm not sure. I've been very adamant that Rodgers is going to be back in Green Bay in 2023. We both have, of course, but because we have been assuming that it's up to the front office to make that decision. We've been assuming that Rodgers, if he had it his way, of course he would come back to Green Bay. We're done with him being fed up with the culture or anything like that. Like, they resolved all those issues, we thought. But today I start thinking about, look, I'm looking at these Vegas odds and I'm like, why is Vegas the favorite all of a sudden? You know, what has changed in our thinking here? And now I'm starting to worry that I've been thinking it was a foregone conclusion that Rodgers wanted to be in Green Bay. But I have worries now that he is looking at the situation in Vegas, looking at who we'd be throwing to over there, mainly Davante Adams. Maybe he would want to go be the big addition in Vegas and get the Tom Brady treatment, you know, bring all of his guys over there and be adored by the fan base and everything. Maybe he would like that treatment. And then I also think about how after the season ended in Green Bay, he's at the podium basically admitting, without admitting officially, but he's basically admitting that this team was not talented enough for him to win more than 8 games with, no matter how well he played as a quarterback. He basically said that. So what is Green Bay going to be able to do this offseason to change that? What are are they going to be able to do to bring in more talent? Because they have almost no money. They can create money, but they're going to have to use that money to re-sign guys like Mercedes Lewis and Robert Tonyan if Rodgers wants them back, you know? So I don't know what the plan is to get this team, to get the talent level to a point where Rodgers feels comfortable that we're able to contend for a Super Bowl, because he said that we were not talented enough to contend for a Super Bowl. What's going to change on that front? So then I think maybe he does want to go play for a team like Vegas, where they're not, you know, they don't have the best roster in the league, but they have Davante Adams, they have weapons, they have a coach who's been there before. Maybe he would look at that situation and think it's appealing.
Tough to argue that, right? I mean, even trying to answer your question about how they can improve the team is tough. Is Rodgers excited about if it's a receiver or a tight end in the first round? Is that enough? Which we've never seen them do in the history of this franchise. That's an exaggeration, but
in the history of Rodgers' career, we have not seen that happen.
No, we haven't. Plus, 10 out of the last 11 first-round picks have been on the defensive side of the ball. And then the one that wasn't was our good old pal buddy Jordan Love, the quarterback, his replacement. So they've really, I don't care what you say, they talk about draft and develop. Well, they haven't put any capital into the offensive skill positions or even the offensive line. They haven't put any significant draft capital. So they clearly haven't been making that a priority to surround Aaron with talent, right? And that's just the truth. Whether you want to face that or not, it's a reality. So how do they do this? How do they
We're all
make
set
him
at
feel
running
wanted?
back, though, and fullback.
Yes, we have many F position players.
You love the F position.
I'm fed up. That's what I am. That's what the F stands for. Fed up. But I certainly don't know what they can do, Griff. I mean, can they? They would have to decide, listen, Lazard is not coming back, and we're going to go get somebody else. Just get Aaron guys that he feels like he can trust or develop some kind of connection with. Not Sammy Watkins level veterans, guys that are about to fall into the grave, but guys that instead are maybe a little older free agents that could potentially make an impact.
Do you remember when Rodgers said during the season at some point that he likes working with Sammy? Sammy's a really smart guy. And he said that caught him by surprise because he had heard things about Sammy, about him being a bad teammate. That was funny. Do you remember him saying that?
No, I've never heard that.
He said during the season that he had heard bad things about Sammy Watkins. But then when he got in the building, he was shocked that he's actually a really smart and cool guy.
Wow, that's aggressive. That's quite aggressive. Who was saying that? Where was he hearing that?
I don't know where he was hearing that, but I remember him saying this during I think it was at his locker at some point during the season. But the Sammy Watkins signing, if we can do that, like if we could get 4 Sammy Watkins in the building this offseason, I think it's a different, that's a different scenario. Not Sammy Watkins exactly, but veterans.
I just
made a face at me, Bron.
I just gave Griff quite the look when he said 4 Sammy Watkins.
Not Sammy Watkins, like Sammy Watkins types, guys who have been in the league a long time, guys who have played with good quarterbacks before. Get them in the building, for cheap
one issue
because we have no money.
I don't love. I mean, we've talked about this free agent wide receiver class, how it's really not great, and one of the better guys is Alan Lazard, and we don't want to pay guys,
it's
right?
It's not great when that's the case.
It's tough. Like, who are we gonna go get? There's guys out there, but I don't know.
You want to talk about your report, Bron?
Huh?
You want to talk about your report?
My report. Oh, we should. I forgot about that. Well, yeah, I did get the inside scoop on Alan, and his contract demands are a little.
You
more
got
than
the inside scoop?
Thought. I did. This was my report. I did report this. 15 to 17 million is his asking price.
Whoa!
15 to 17 million dollars per year. Griff reacts like he didn't know that, but he well knew that he knew that fact. But and Griff, I told you he's gonna ask for at least 10 million. Then I did some digging and found out he wants 15 to 17 million per year, which is what Christian Kirk got, 17 million. And that's honestly not crazy, which people might be surprised if he gets somewhere around 15 million, but I'm not going to be surprised because MVS got 10, and Lazard does things in the run game that would be appealing to some of these younger coaches that have just gotten jobs. I think a team like the Jets, if they were a little more wide receiver needy, excluding whatever Aaron Rodgers talk, right? Like teams that are going to have guys that run similar offenses to what Matt LaFleur does, his value in the run game, on the face value of the whole thing, because Griff, we talked about how he was one of the worst PFF blocking wide receivers in the league this year. Not that that may have been true or not. You have debates about that, as do I. But at least some platform thinks he wasn't as good of a blocker as everybody thinks this year, right? So that number is quite big. And the Packers apparently, from what I was told, are not going to be bringing him back unless he comes back to them looking for something about half that. And that was the number Green Bay was comfortable with.
At his locker after the Lions game to end the season that this was his last game in Green Bay. That's crazy. Like they must have had talks. I'm guessing this goes back to last offseason when he dipped his toe in the waters of the free agent market. But I don't know. Is there a situation where he comes out of the free agency period with nothing and then comes back to Green Bay and we give him another 1-year deal? Maybe, but probably not. And we know this. We know, everyone knows my thoughts on Allen Lazard. Don't have to get into this again. But $15 to $17 million, that I respect the hustle by Lazard there. And if some team is going to give him that, which, again, I'm not going to be shocked if some team gives him that. If they give him $17 million per year, I'll be shocked, okay? I will be shocked if someone gives him $17 million per year. But I do think that he's going to make
money
upwards
like
of
5
10
years
or
ago.
11. I know, dude. It's crazy what is happening in this league. Now it's Allen Lazard money. If some poor team, deprived of talent, wants to give him that money, it won't be the worst signing in the world, but maybe the second or third worst signing in the world.
Yeah, look, I don't think Green Bay is even truly interested in getting him at that half mark, which that's what I was told. It was going to be Green Bay was offering around 7 to 8-ish, whatever, and he wants and thinks he can get 15 to 17 million per. So I think he might get that. I do, somewhere around there. I could totally see him getting 15. With Christian Kirk getting 17 and Allen being Aaron Rodgers' number one receiver and a reliable guy over the last few years, or at least I should say trying to be Aaron's number one receiver because he did do that for us, but I think there will be some value out there that teams will see in him. And I think $15 million, that would make him like the 20th highest paid wide receiver or something like that. I think somebody would be willing to do that for him. And again, not going to be us, Green Bay, and those talks they're not close in any contractual talks. So again, this is what I was told. I feel really solid about that information. So that's the nature of what it's become right now for Allen and Green Bay. Green Bay is going to have to look somewhere to get more receiver help because whether it's the draft or they will have to maybe possibly dip into free agency to get some kind of veterans, whether it's on a minimum or something else, they are going to need more because they literally have the 3 rookies from last year and Bo Melton, who they signed late in the year on the practice squad, and nothing else.
The rookies could be a thing. Like if Rodgers comes back and we just run it back with the same exact roster because we can't afford to bring in any other major talent, the progression and the growth of the rookies, Dobbs and Watson and even Torrey, that could be a thing where they could tack on a few extra wins. We could end up in the playoffs. We could end up really contending for the Super Bowl if those guys are able to make a big step. But it sucks the kind of purgatory that we're in right now with Rodgers not having made up his mind. And what is it with, why can we not get any of these local Green Bay media guys to dig in? Ask someone, what is Goody's plan? What is the Packers' perspective on all of this? Why do we not know what their plan is yet? It's February 7th. We don't know anything about what they want to do. What does Jordan know? Is Jordan going into this offseason thinking that he's going to be the starter? Does he think he's going to be the backup again? Is he asking for a trade? Why does not Demovsky or Wilde or any of these guys leak something? Ask questions, make a report or something, man. All we hear is from Aaron every single week about his plant medicine and his COVID toe and all this no one cares about. And then we get in and we have nothing from the Packers' perspective. We know nothing from Jordan's perspective. What is going on? There has to be something that these guys know that we don't. It's so weird. It's February, dude.
It is February. And I asked you, this was only a couple days ago, and I said, what does Jordan Love think is going on? What is his perspective on this? Has he been told by the team that they're going to start him this year? What does he know? What does he not know? How in the loop is he? I would have to think he's got to be somewhat in the loop because he's thinking about probably, well, if you're not going to play me, I got to request a trade, right? So, and then the Packers are going to have to deal with that or whatever the case is. Have the Packers just said, listen, we got to wait for Aaron's decision, sit tight? You think that's what Green Bay did? That's probably the likely scenario, right? Or have they told him, listen, we are going to start you? Or have they not made a decision and not said anything to him? These are the things that I'm interested in.
You think we could get Goody on the pod? If no one else wants to ask him these questions, can we?
I don't want to speak to him.
You guys aren't on speaking terms?
I would call him a tool, but tools have use, and to me, I would.
Oh, come on. You like Goody. You like Goody. Come
no,
on,
I actually do
like
Goody, but I'm just mad at him for creating this mess every year.
Well, you texted me earlier. We kind of got fleeced by Vegas last offseason, didn't we?
I said literally this, Griff. I said, if they just gave us, instead of Gutekunst taking a first and a second so they could help improve the team right away and then didn't use the first on a receiver, idiot. Instead of doing that, maybe they should have just taken the first the first last year and the first this year, because they'd have the number 7 and number 15 picks right now and still have Aaron Rodgers on their roster. Now talk about that. Now that's the idiot.
The fact that we could not get 2 first-round picks for Davante Adams.
The best player at the position in the NFL.
The best non-quarterback in the league, arguably. You know, we got a first and second round pick for him. I can't believe that. And like, I get it, you know, you like the culture, you like, Davante still likes Green Bay, he has love for us and everything, and that's partly because we traded him to where he wants to go, but really, this is a business, you know? Do we really have to trade him to where he really wanted to go? You know, we could have leveraged the situation a little bit better, and we're probably going to do the same thing with Aaron, you know?
If we trade Aaron to Las Vegas, Gutekunst should just get up and leave, and get out of this franchise. How could you let those 2 players go to one organization? And what is it?
I mean, come on, of your team,
bro. If Gutekunst,
decade.
If Brian Gutekunst trades Aaron Rodgers to Las Vegas and lets them team up in Vegas, I will personally fly to Green Bay and knock some sense into that dude myself.
That would be them literally stealing our 2 best players since 2014. Since, you know, like, that would be. Because if Rodgers goes to Vegas, now they've got Rodgers and Davante. Mercedes is probably going to go there. Because the thing that no one talked about all weekend was under one of Davante's tweets, Mercedes comments, you know, the little handwriting emoji, noted, or something like that. Like, oh, Rodgers is going to Vegas? That's what that meant. That's what that reply meant from Mercedes. Rodgers is going to Vegas? Well, I guess I'm going to Vegas too if Rodgers and Davante are going to be there, you know? So Davante's going to be in Vegas. Rodgers is going to be in Vegas. Lazard, maybe he wants to go to Vegas.
Jordy.
Mercedes is going to be in Vegas. Jordy Nelson is coming back. Jake Kumaro. You know, all these guys. They're just going to be the Las Vegas Packers. My gosh, dude. And then it's going to be, that would just be so embarrassing. Goody cannot do that, right? Do you think Goody cares about his ego enough?
Is he dumb enough to do that?
Rodgers?
Is he dumb enough
to not trade Rodgers to Vegas just because, no, we're not going to let you get the best duo in the league of the past 20 years?
If this idiot somehow lets our 2 best players of the last decade go to one team to team up somewhere else, and look how stupid he'd be if they end up winning a Super Bowl in their first year together.
If they win
Everybody's fired.
Imagine they win a Super Bowl, dude.
Everybody's fired. I don't care if Green Bay meets them in the Super Bowl. They're fired if they do that. They're fired. It's over.
Man, I've said before, I root for chaos a lot of the time, and I would lose my mind if that happened, bro. They win a Super Bowl year 1 in Vegas. Oh my God.
I'm smelling a lot of darkness retreats in my future if this is the case.
I saw someone say on Twitter, I think it was Matt Schneidman, it's funny that the entire future of this franchise is hinging on a 40-year-old man's retreat into the woods. What if he comes out of it and it's just like, he's like, nope, Green Bay is my home, and I plan on being here for 3
I literally
5
said
more
that
years.
to you. Imagine if he comes out with the
did
clarity. Imagine he's like, there's no more of this, of like the yearly moments of like months-long decision-making. What if he comes out and says, I want to play, like what he used to say, I want to play in Green Bay until I'm 45 and ride off into the sunset after a Super Bowl. Remember when he used to say that?
He used to always say that, yeah.
A year ago, he was saying he wanted to play 5 to 7 more years. Now he's thinking about retirement every year. I don't know about that, but we'll see. I mean, look, he's not retiring.
No, that's why he's coming back. That's why no one believes that he's not coming back.
I truly think if he's looking to find out what makes him happiest, which are his words today on the Pat McAfee show talking about this darkness retreat, which he will undergo 4 days and 4 nights. He can get out of this if he wants to. The door's always open. He could leave if he wants, if he's overwhelmed. 4 days and 4 nights of pure darkness, pure silence, no phones, no books. You can't see a thing. There's a bathroom. He gets food a couple times a day. That will be kind of
can't see a thing, really? Like, not just like the lights are off, but like pitch black?
Pitch black. Because the whole point of it, Griff, and we actually, funny enough, Griff and myself had a conversation about, we saw a friend of Aaron's had talked about he had done this, And 2 days ago, me and Griff are talking about what this would be like, and so we had a conversation about it, and now we find out Aaron's also doing it, influenced by his friend. But we had a conversation, and there's nothing. It would be purely pitch black. And this friend of Aaron's was talking about how all these different things where you can just look around with the light and you could look at different things and observe things, it distracts you from your thoughts. So all Aaron's going to have is himself, and his thoughts. That's it. That's all he'll have. And
how do people want to move on from this, bro?
I don't know. It's such a fun time. But the truth is, too, I'm a little concerned.
Bro.
Can I present a concern, Griff? Permission to present a concern?
Go ahead.
I'm concerned that Aaron's going to trip and fall in this dark house of death and break something.
The Bray Wyatt House of Horrors. Break his collarbone again. Looking for the toilet.
I'm worried we're getting a headline. Aaron Rodgers found with broken leg at the bottom of this deep, dark abyss. I'm a little worried. That's a true thing I'm worried about. Man. I'm fascinated to see what he thinks. I think this could be good for us because deep down he wants to be loyal to Green Bay. He's always wanted to retire in Green Bay. So I think that's going to be the reflection and some of the deeper thoughts that he's going to have. If we're going to analyze this,
how much Green Bay means to him.
Yes, these things he's going to think about the amazing career he's had there, and what's going to make him happiest is retiring a Packer. He wanted that for the longest time. That was in doubt when we drafted Jordan Love. He's going to realize that if that's in his hands, he wants to take advantage of that. Why would he choose to leave this amazing place that he gets to call home and he has control over? It's his. The city is his, and it will forever be his. So I don't see a scenario where he reflects for 4 days with nothing but his thoughts and comes out of it thinking, "Oh, I want to go play with Davante." He wants to be a Packer for life.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he does miss Davante, but
of course
I think
he does,
the love he has for the city of Green Bay, for the franchise.
Yeah, I do think mostly though, Griff, there was some resentment, I think. When I went back and watched Aaron's first press conference after the Davante Adams trade, and Rodgers clearly had an issue. I shouldn't say clearly, but from what I took from it, it felt like he was wondering what made him make that decision and why would you want to leave us. And I think Aaron's gonna think about that at the end of the day and be like, he did make that choice to leave me, and now he wants me back so bad. We just went through this one off season ago, and he wanted to go play with his best friend Derek Carr. And he got what he deserved. Derek Carr is going to get cut or traded in the next month. And now Davante is praying that Aaron comes back. Well, guess what, Davante? You're not going to steal him from us at this point. You lost. You left. And you can't sit here and put us in the position as Packers fans. You can't hurt us twice. Leaving is one thing, and I get it. Gutekunst didn't do a good enough job to keep Davante. That's part of it. But Davante also did, at the end of the day, say, "No, I'm leaving. It's too late." And that's fine. I get it. I'm not mad at him for that at this point. I'm more mad at Brian for letting that happen. But I would be mad if Davante now, and I get that it's best for him or whatever, but it really would suck if Davante pried Aaron Rodgers away from Green Bay as well. That would just be devastating.
On our podcast right after he got traded in March of last year, I think that's our best podcast, honestly. I've listened to that multiple times. I've gone back and listened to it because you are in a special mood on that podcast.
That was one of my dark retreats. That was a darkness retreat.
That was one of them, yeah. But you said something about, what is he chasing? Mediocrity? Winning 6 games per year? And I think they won 6 games this year, right? Didn't they win 6 games?
Yeah, something like that. I don't watch Raiders football anymore.
Davante kind of... You really don't, man. You're in a dark place. But Davante kind of got what... did he deserve it? I don't know. Kind of got what he asked for. They're going to...
That's
Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer, right?
Oh, these comments. See, and now he's trying to pry away my quarterback from my team? Your team, Davante? Breaking my heart, man. We can't let this happen. If Gutekunst lets him just, Davante wants Aaron? Sure thing, Davante. Shut up, dude. I want everybody fired if that happens.
God, we just can't do it for the sole reason that they already took Davante from us. For not enough. They did not give us enough for Davante. And then they're going to take Rodgers away from us too? I don't know. I want to talk about how, because there are two sides to this. Most of the fan base, you look at these Twitter polls, all these reporters have done the Twitter polls of who do you want to be your quarterback in Green Bay in 2023, and Jordan Love is winning these polls. I would say the majority of this fan base is ready to move on from Rodgers and give Love the starting job. And I do want to kind of, play devil's advocate, if you will. And not even that, because I do understand the perspective of people who want to move on and want Jordan Love to start. People who believe in Love think that the Eagles game, he looked really good. The preseason, he looked really good. And they want to see him playing with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and playing in Matt LaFleur's offense for a full season. I get that. But I think the mistake that these people make is that they view Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback who is just incapable of winning a championship. They think that he is incapable of winning these big games, and for good reason, because they're sick of losing. These people are sick of watching us lose every single season. They're sick of watching Aaron specifically play his worst football, it seems like, in the biggest moments of the year. And they're tired of watching that every single season, and they're ready to move on. But I think that the mistake there is that you're thinking of Rodgers as just completely incapable of winning a Super Bowl, when I don't think that's the case. I think of it as we have drawn the shortest end of the stick is what we have drawn in Aaron Rodgers' career. We have gotten so unbelievably unlucky throughout his career so many different times. I think that is the reason that we haven't won a second Super Bowl. And these people think that Rodgers can't win a Super Bowl. They act like he hasn't already won a Super Bowl. First of all, he's already gotten there. He's already played in the game before. He's already won Super Bowl MVP. He's done it before. It's not like it's in his genes that he just can't do it. He clearly can do it. We watched him do it before. But I think that we have just gotten so unlucky. And I used to say this, it's kind of different now because we don't have Davante Adams. But back when we had Davante Adams and we were consistently putting together elite offenses and 13-win seasons, I was saying it's worth it to run it back because eventually they're going to get over the hump. Eventually they are going to pull the better end of the stick and they're going to go on a Super Bowl run and they're going to win the Super Bowl because this team is good enough to win a Super Bowl. Now you can argue that, but I still think Rodgers is an elite quarterback who is capable of winning a Super Bowl. And people disagree with that ultimately. And I think that's the biggest difference between people like you and I, Bron, and people who want to see Jordan Love play.
Well, I think people are unaware of what they're asking for there, and they're asking to move on from a guy who we know, at least I know. I think intelligent people who have watched this game and have watched Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl and have the Packers consistently in the mix for a Super Bowl every year, I would just say, look, there is absolutely zero doubt in my mind that Aaron Rodgers can win us another Super Bowl, and I truly believe he will win the Super Bowl in Green Bay again, and I have nothing but faith in that, and I think he can do it, and I know we can do it. And at this point in my life currently, I feel that if we are going to win a Super Bowl, it has to be with him, and anything less is just, it's not going to be fulfilling enough, because this journey of, what has it been, 12 years now, that we have been on ever since that last Super Bowl, and everybody thought we were going to win multiple Super Bowls. It's been so long, and what a journey it would be to get back to that point and for Aaron to raise the trophy 13 years apart or whatever the case is. And I truly think he can do it, and I think we can do it, and we've been so close so many times. And even this year we got on a stretch where it felt like we just get in the mix, we win that last Lions game, and then here we are, and we're a few games away. It's just like, we can do it. I know we can do it. As long as we have Aaron, we're the Green Bay Packers. We're going to be in the mix. So I just think, like I said, we are the Packers. We get in that mix every year with Aaron. And that's because of the great quarterback play we're accustomed to having. So to move on from that too soon because of a down year that we talk about, why was it a down year? Davante Adams being gone. The offense had to clearly adjust with guys that were not fit to fulfill the loss of Davante. We brought in rookies to replace the best player in the world, and it didn't work. And we brought in Sammy Watkins to replace the best player in the world, and he got cut midway through the season. So that was clearly at fault of the GM and the front office, and trying to blame that on Aaron is it's just a waste of time. So I still think we can get it done with Aaron, and we just have to have him come back. And I like this group. They were clearly close enough this year. They just have to make a couple additions, a good draft class, development of their guys, and we're going to be back in this thing, and I can't wait for that.
A good draft class, a couple additions. Rodgers said that we were a couple pieces away at the end of the year. Then yeah, we could certainly contend. And you look at from week 10 through the end of the season, even the Lions game, even including that awful, dreadful offensive performance against the Lions week 18, we were a top 5 team in offensive EPA per play. They had figured it out, Rodgers was. I wish we were at a point where we could sit here and debate how well Rodgers played in 2022, because I think he played well. It doesn't even matter at this point because everyone is trying to trade him and everyone wants to trade for him, and is he going to retire? So this conversation is pointless at this point. But he did play well in 2022. And we got this email about 2 weeks ago from a guy named Jack Moran, and I wanted to read it out here. I've been meaning to read out this email for a while now. By the way, if you want to email the show, you can email us at todayintitletown@gmail.com. But he says, I met a friend of mine who's a Washington Commanders fan at a bar for a few drinks the other night. I brought up what's going on with the Rodgers drama about him possibly leaving and to hand the reins over to Jordan Love, and my friend replied, you want Rodgers to come back. Trust me, you want Rodgers for one more season for another shot at the Super Bowl. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback who can give you a chance. I've gone 30 years without a great quarterback and have made the playoffs like 5 or 7 times in that span. It's been rough. I wish we had a quarterback like that for 1 year. You don't know what you're getting in Love. You should not take Rodgers for granted. He is still great. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting statement from a fan of another team, Jack from New York City. I thought that's a great email, and that is a great point. Quarterbacks are the ultimate commodity in this league. They are the easiest formula for winning a Super Bowl is finding an elite quarterback. That is almost always step number one, with a few outliers. But that is almost always step number one, finding the elite quarterback. And everyone wants to talk about, if we moved on from Rodgers this offseason, switch to Jordan Love, if he's great, well, bingo, the Packers have their 3rd great quarterback in a row, and if he sucks, then we can just draft another one next year. But they are ignoring what is the most likely outcome to come out of Jordan Love playing this year, and that is he is bang average. And we win 7, 8 games again, and we end up with a 15, 16, 14 overall pick where we are out of the top tier of quarterback range, And then we're in quarterback purgatory, which is what the Washington Commanders have been in for their entire existence. It's what the Jets have been in for forever. It's what the Lions have been in for most of their franchise history. All these terrible, terrible teams who have been in quarterback purgatory. When you get stuck in quarterback purgatory, you are there for a long, long time because it is so hard to find good quarterbacks in this league. It's hard to find good ones, let alone elite ones, let alone Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Let alone the GOAT, Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. So Jordan Love, if he starts this year, he's probably going to be average. The probability tells you that he's probably going to be average. That's what most quarterbacks are. He's probably going to be an average quarterback who is not going to be able to elevate your roster, but you're going to have to build around him a ton for him to look good. The Daniel Jones type, the Kirk Cousins type, And that is the last thing you want as an NFL team.
I think that's probably a little generous. Everybody's going to treat him like a rookie, even though this is his 3rd year sitting under Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, if he starts and it's going to be week 5 and he's going to have more interceptions than completed passes, it's going to be like, well, we got to give him a break, And that is just at that point, I cannot take it anymore because
my standard is for his play is going to be over the roof. It's not even going to be through the roof. It's going to be over the roof, Griff. I can't tolerate anything. I can't tolerate anything less than great play.
I like Jordan more now than I did when we drafted him. I think I don't want to go based on 14 dropbacks against the Eagles or whatever it was. I don't want to go solely based on that, but he made 2 really, really impressive throws in that game. He had a really efficient preseason, but I always go back to training camp, Bron, in August when we were there, and he would make good throw, and then just the worst interception you've ever seen in your life, I feel like that is the type of player he's going to be. He's going to be good for most of the game, but then he's just going to throw just absolute terrible footballs. And, people are going to say, oh, so you mean Josh Allen? You mean Brett Favre? But he's not going to give you what Josh Allen gives you. He's not going to give you the 80-yard bomb touchdowns on any given play. I don't think Jordan's giving you that.
I think what we saw in camp, Griff, was much less good throw, interception. I think it was more make that throw because you're a quarterback in this league throw. Much less good throw. I think it's like you're expected to make this throw. Like that, and then yes, the bad interception. Yes, he has a couple. I think in the Eagles game he had a couple nice throws, but the touchdown pass that he had was Christian Watson turning the Jets on. It wasn't anything special. He put the ball in the spot that was necessary, but it was like a 10-yard throw and Christian Watson running 60 more yards or whatever it was. So I'm not sitting here saying Jordan Love is ready because I haven't seen enough, and what I have seen from a talent evaluation standpoint in person, I've been disappointed. I'm not ready to crown him as the next quarterback for Green Bay. And plus, I don't think the era with our current quarterback in Green Bay is over. So it's just difficult for me to be like, okay, let's go to Jordan when I feel like there's a ton of unfinished business that should get finished with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think Jordan Love is ready. You put those two things together. Sorry that I'm not jumping up and down saying, let's go Jordan Love. I'm not ready to. I'm not in that spot, and I don't think I'm going to be. Even if for some reason, if somehow Aaron Rodgers gets traded, I don't believe I'm ready for Jordan. And we might just be thrust into that situation, but I haven't seen enough from him to get excited about him, that's for sure.
So I want to look more at the other side of this argument because it's an unrepresented argument on this podcast. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to people arguing over what is the best formula to win a Super Bowl. And Bron and I, we both think that the best formula is keeping your Hall of Fame quarterback for as long as you can and getting enough around him where you're able to contend for a Super Bowl and eventually win a Super Bowl. But the other side of the argument is that the better formula, especially for this team's situation, would be trading Rodgers, getting the absolute haul of picks that we would most likely get, multiple first-rounders, maybe a player.
I'm not sure we'd even get that, Griff, just because we don't know how many. He floats around the retirement thing every year now. Who's willing to give up multiple picks for that? I hope somebody is.
Well, it sounds like the Jets are. I think we know
But I'm scared that Rodgers is going to be like, okay, I want to be traded, and the Packers are going to say, okay, we're going to trade you. If that happens, right? What happens when the Raiders and Jets' best offers are a second-round pick?
That's when you come to Green Bay and
do you just accept that?
We go knock some sense into Brian Gutekunst's door. No, you don't accept that. Of course you don't.
In every scenario where I've pictured Aaron Rodgers getting traded, I'm watching them trade him for like a second-round pick. And that would just literally throw me off.
It would be for multiple first-round picks.
It better be. It better be, or I am stomping up to Green Bay and knocking some sense into some people, like I said earlier.
It would be. They would get multiple first-round picks.
Griff, it better
probably a
be.
Player, probably a second-round pick thrown in there too. But people think about that, and they think, well, we'd eat all of Aaron's dead cap money. We'd eat all the cap hits. It would be an insane cap hit for this season. So we certainly wouldn't be able to sign any big free agents, hardly any free agents at all this offseason. We would have to rely on the draft, and we would have this exact team with Jordan Love as the starting quarterback. And we'd most likely, if we trade Aaron, we're going to pick up the fifth-year option. So Jordan would be going into the second to last year on his contract, on his rookie contract. And so this season, if we traded Rodgers, 2023 would be a bad year. It would be hard to watch, probably. It would be probably a pretty awful season.
Last year was bad.
But 2024, the formula, all of this is because the formula would be building towards 2024, where the draft picks that we make from the Rodgers trade this year, they're going into year 2. Christian Watson, Dobbs going into year 3. We now have money because we don't have Rodgers' contract on the books. We have money to be able to bring in guys. Jordan would only be on the books for what, $20 million?
Only, yeah. For a guy that hasn't played, and in your scenario, sucked in his first year.
The formula here is that 2024 is the year that you're contending for a Super Bowl. Because people are going to say, look at Jalen Hurts. If we can make a move on the caliber of the A.J. Brown trade, or
when have we been known to do something like
Smith?
That? The biggest move
this
we've
is
ever
the formula,
made.
Bron. I'm drawing up the formula for you. This is the formula for winning a Super Bowl with Jordan Love as the quarterback. Unless people have blind faith, there's a chance that people have blind faith that Jordan's going to be able to step in, be a franchise guy right away, and elevate this team into Super Bowl contention in 2023. If you have that blind faith, more power to you, but it's probably not going to happen. He's probably going to need a lot of help around him. And so 2023 is going to be a washed year. But 2024, if we trade Rodgers, that could be the year that these things start to happen because we're going to have the extra first-round pick for the second year in a row.
A lot of hypotheticals in that one, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't love that. I don't think we can rely. To me, I'm thinking about this fifth-year option, and that was just announced as $20.27 million today. And I'm thinking we do not pick that thing up. And I'm not saying that just because I want Jordan gone or anything. I'm saying it because.
And you're assuming that we keep Rodgers, right?
Well, okay. Let's say we don't keep Aaron. Let's just say Aaron's gone, whether it's through a retirement or even whatever. The deadline is 1 week after this NFL draft. We have to decide whether we're going to pick up this fifth-year option for Jordan. we're not going to know anything by then. I think we got to decline this thing. And my reasoning is because I truly believe we can just extend him next year for less money. I don't see why.
I don't think so.
You don't
I think he's going to be able to play himself. If he's the starter,
Come
I
on.
think he's going to be able to play himself into a better deal than $20 million.
$20 million is a lot of money for a guy that hasn't played, Griffey.
Yeah, but he would be a free agent after his first year starting, where he's probably going to look like an average quarterback. He's probably going to look like Daniel Jones, who is gearing up to make close to $40 million.
Who's going to pay him $20 million?
I think if he looks okay, I think a lot of teams would. Have you looked around at the quarterback situation in the NFL?
That's banking on him.
The
looking
Saints are
okay.
about to trade for Derek Carr.
That's
you
not
think Jordan
true.
can be Derek Carr?
They're not trading for Derek Carr.
He's visiting with them. You think Jordan can be Derek Carr?
No.
You don't think he's going to be Derek Carr?
I do not.
Davante didn't think so. Davante definitely didn't think so.
No. Hey, maybe that tells you something, huh? Davante was like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
maybe.
Jordan, I'm out of here."
Davante got one game with this.
He was. Oh, how mad was he that game against the Chiefs? I'm not getting
was so
anything in my
pissed.
way.
He was done.
That's what I'm saying.
Every
Look, I don't
target,
care.
he was just like, oh.
Like, he was like, man, I miss Aaron, and then he decided to go leave him for whatever reason. But look, I look at the thing with Jordan. I haven't seen enough. So I'm not sitting here ready to pay this dude $20 million. And what happens if Aaron's here? What happens if let's say Aaron, what if Aaron decides he's going to come back next year? And then we pick up Jordan's option? This is getting complicated quick. And it's
We're
not
paying
just
a lot
Aaron
for two
complicated.
quarterbacks
It's
in that
Jordan
situation.
complicated. In that scenario, we're paying.
That's really tough, yeah. Because if we pick up the option and keep Aaron, that's a really ugly situation. Because Aaron's cap hit is going to skyrocket after this year. Jordan's now going to be on the books for $20 million. We're paying the quarterback position. Only one of those guys can be on the field at a time, and we're going to be paying two of them $20+ million each. That could get ugly.
Look, I always go back to what Brian Gutekunst said on two different occasions. He has two different quotes that stay with me to this day. One of them is that he does not foresee a scenario where Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love are both on the roster in 2024. I forget what the exact words were, but he said that was extremely unlikely, to paraphrase. And that makes a lot of sense because of what we're talking about right now, where Aaron Rodgers would be due for a ton of money and Jordan would be getting paid $20 million. So it just doesn't add up. You can't have two guys on the roster.
Why is no one reporting on if teams are calling us about Jordan's availability?
Because nobody
Why is no one
thinks like
reporting
we
that?
do, okay? Nobody's thinking that deep into this like we are. We're sitting here for an hour for like the fifth week in a row. Eventually we're going to crack something, right? But now, and then the other thing I think of...
Talking to no one but each other.
Is this a darkness retreat we're on right now? No, but...
This might be.
No, but and then the other thing with Brian that I always think back to is the quote that he said after sometime around the draft, after Aaron signed this extension this past offseason, and Brian talked about, depending on how long Aaron wants to play, Jordan Love has a bright future, but as far as his future with us, we have to see where Aaron's at and how much longer he wants to play. So to me, they want Aaron. Nothing's changed. The Packers want him. Rodgers wants to retire in Green Bay, ideally, in an ideal scenario, right? If they find a way to make this marriage continue to work, which I think, and we both think, and we've said it a million times, that's where I see Jordan Love getting traded, a possibility, and a likelihood even, because the Packers are going to try to do right by the player. Jordan has thought about requesting a trade. That's been reported if Rodgers stays this year. And then the issue with the money next year, that would mean you're definitely moving on from Aaron after this year, or they're trading Jordan after this year. To me, if they're going to trade Jordan after this year, you move on now. It doesn't make any sense to keep him. To me, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'd like to have him on the roster. I'd like to have him on the roster because he's our quarterback, but still.
That all comes down to how highly does Goody think of Jordan Love? Because Goody does not want to see Jordan go play well for another team. You know, he does not want to not pick up the option, stick with Rodgers, and then watch Jordan go win a Super Bowl with another team.
He
does not want to see that.
Problem. He created this problem. Now we're in a position where he's got to either let his Hall of Famer go, who isn't even his Hall of Famer. He inherited this quarterback. He's got to either let him go or trade the guy that he drafted in the first round, and he might look like an idiot then too. This is not a winning scenario for Brian, really. I don't see it.
It's terrible. It's an awfully hard situation. And I always think about this quote from 2 years ago from me from our award-winning video
yeah.
where I said Brian Gutekunst bet on the downfall of Aaron Rodgers in 2020. Rodgers was coming off those back-to-back years in 18 and 19 where he didn't look like himself. Goody bet on the downfall of Aaron Rodgers, drafted his successor, and he lost the bet. Rodgers wins the next 2 MVPs and plays some of the best football of his whole career. You have to admit you lost at some point here, Goody.
What an idiot again. I think I've called him an idiot like 5 times on the show.
We like Goody.
I like Gutekunst truly, but man, he's an idiot.
No, that love pick is going to define his legacy for sure.
Well, it's created a lot of problems for us. And
jeez, imagine if we just never draft. Imagine we draft T. Higgins in 2020.
Again, we're talking about Super Bowl play. We're literally one player away.
We're sitting here with 3 rings.
Oh my goodness. This guy has really messed things up for us, hasn't he?
He really has, huh?
No, but I mean, I just think about everything and all the things that I've been saying for the past 3 years now. We've been right on these things, Griff. And again, my feelings are the same. Everything's pointing to Jordan Love not being the starter next year. Everything's pointing to Aaron. Everything we've ever heard, all the research and time and effort put into this, Griff, and everything we know and believe to be true, it would be a total upset if Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback next year. I will be shocked. I will be truly, truly shocked. I will be devastated, but I will be shocked.
Every time I start to teeter, I then talk to you, and I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Again, Griff, I look back to everything with Jordan, and remember when Gutekunst, what was it, a little over a year ago, 2 years ago? Remember when he was saying Jordan has a long way to go? Well, how can you say now that you feel really strong about him or really good about Jordan when he hasn't played? He hasn't played. You don't know anything more. And we saw what he did in camp. And I'm not talking about what he did, more like what he didn't do. And I'm talking about he just didn't play well enough for me or you. We were there, front row, for a week. Family night. We saw this poor guy.
And we were rooting for him, man.
We wanted him. We wanted him to play well. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have another 15-year stretch of quarterback play in this organization? But it didn't look that way, and it's just disappointing. And like we said, we're watching him make these nice, easy throws, and it's like encouraging. It's like, okay, he's not a total bust. And then you just hear that sigh of the crowd, like, oh my gosh, not another pick.
The sighs of the crowd.
Oh, it's just this depressive
everyone
sigh.
Just, the collective groan.
It's like, and then we sit here and he's continuing to do it. But I just want to see him play well, but it's just, everything points that he's, what is anybody seeing that's making you feel like, oh yes, Jordan time?
No, these people just have blind faith, dude. And I don't want to name any names here, but these are the people who bought Jordan Love jerseys the day after we drafted him. You know, these are the same people because like we are loyal to Aaron Rodgers. Ultimately, these people are loyal to Brian Gutekunst and refuse to believe that he could possibly make a bad move. You know, they're just going to defend we draft a quarterback, a move no one saw coming, and their first reaction was, yep, love the pick, let's go. Like, who in their right mind has that reaction? I don't know how that's possible unless you have some blind faith to Brian Gutekunst, which, again, I'm not going to name any names, but I think that is the case with a lot of these folks. Because what have you seen from Jordan Love that makes you think he can be the next franchise quarterback? I don't know what you've seen. 20 dropbacks against Philadelphia in the fourth quarter when we were down 2 scores? That doesn't do it for me.
It was 11, Griff. He threw 11 balls, I believe.
Oh, God.
That's not enough
for me.
He
made good throws. And he made good throws in the preseason. But
those
I need more than that in order to move on from Aaron Rodgers.
That is not meaningful snaps. He was playing look, that Eagles game, yes, he scored we were down 2 touchdowns. He scored a touchdown with Christian Watson ran it 60 yards. He did throw a 10-yard pass to Watson that he took 60 yards. Okay. But the Eagles defense was not totally trying, let's be honest. Like we saw what that's an overused term, but I'm talking about like just the way that they were playing defense was not like, oh, we have to lock down because we don't want to let them back in this game. Once Jordan Love went in the game, everybody's like, well, you know what I mean? It's like it's just the defenders themselves, from a human standpoint, are not thinking like, oh, now we better really lock up because Aaron went out. They're thinking the opposite. The game's over in their eyes. When their backup quarterback goes in.
Game's over.
When the backup quarterback goes in, you're not thinking, all right, time to tighten up. These guys are literally physically slowing down, and the game
and
is
it was the fourth quarter also.
And the game is basically over. The defenders are not thinking like time to lock in. It's just not happening. So I need to see more meaningful. And the only meaningful snaps we saw were when he started in Kansas City, and we had the one touchdown that was like a little out route that Allen Lazard walked into the end zone. But everything other than that, I just haven't seen anything good enough. And we try, Griff. Like I said, we try to see it. I'm trying to find the things that everybody else is seeing. But he just hasn't done enough for me to sit here and be all excited about it.
This is why I wanted him. This is why after the Eagles game, was it? Yeah. It was week 13, I was saying. Before the Bears game of this year, I was saying it's time to bench Aaron. Aaron's hurt. He's not playing his best football. This team stinks. Put Jordan Love in there. It was a bad take because we ended up winning, 5 in a row? But ultimately, it wasn't a bad take because guess what? We didn't make the playoffs anyways. So I'd rather have good, meaningful snaps of Jordan Love than watch this team lose against Detroit week 18 on Sunday Night Football and embarrass themselves for the 8th year in a row.
We would have been in the offseason in December, Our offseason would have started in December, so I think you're wrong.
Look, the offseason started for me right after we lost that Eagles game.
The offseason started for me when we lost the last meaningful game, which was the final game. I liked having chances. Any chance with Aaron, you know that. I want it. We got it. We came close. It is what it is. But I'd rather have that.
Isn't this funny? Because now I'm thinking about what we were talking about weeks 13 and 14, and I was on here saying it's statistically unlikely that all these things are going to happen. You flip a coin this many times, it's not going to come up heads every single time. And I look like a doofus for saying all this. I look like an idiot when it was week 18 and all these things did happen and we were one win away from the playoffs. But guess what? We came one coin short. That last coin landed tails.
Nobody was saying that we were going to have a shot at the playoffs like I was. I was saying it before we started winning. I was saying it a lot, and to get to that point was fun. I was wrong, but I was right for most of the time.
Close.
I was close. I was closer than anybody else. In the end, I was wrong, but I was right for about 4.5 weeks, 4 3/4 of the game.
I do wish. Don't you wish we would have gotten to see Jordan? Don't you wish we would have lost?
Nope.
The Dolphins game.
What if this was Aaron's last year? What if we see Jordan and he plays well and then we lost out on 5 weeks of Aaron Rodgers? And you're going to sit here and say, well, Aaron actually only threw 1 touchdown a week and less than 100 yards.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't his best play.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was his best play, but every single game, Griff, he always made one of those special Aaron Rodgers throws that we know he still can, and he just won 2 MVPs.
Flick of the wrist on the left sideline to Mercedes.
We know all of them, believe me. And I know for a fact that you would have preferred we got those throws than we didn't. So you're wrong.
Yeah, maybe. I got some likes on a reel. That was nice.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Only talked about Aaron. Should we rename the podcast, Bron?
Today in Aaron Town?
We might have to. After this episode, we might have to think about that. We talked a little Lazard. We talked a little Love. But that's going to do it. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to be back soon. And like I said, I wish we could talk about things that matter. I wish we could talk about what this team needs to do to win a Super Bowl next year. Because that's an episode I have written down right here in front of me that we just have to keep that on the docket because we don't know who's going to be the quarterback this season. So we got to wait for that. Hopefully this 4-day period in complete isolation and darkness helps Aaron realize that he wants to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. And Goody, what is he thinking? Someone needs to DM Rob Domofsky, tell him to do some digging, Someone needs to DM any of these guys, tell him, can we get a report? Can we get a leak? Schefter sits there leaking all day.
Someone needs to put Goody in one of these darkness retreats and lock the door. Never let him out. Lock the door and throw away the key, Goody. You're fired.
You saved that for the last 30 seconds of the podcast, dude. Come on, man.
You listen this far, you got a good one there.
All right. So if you want to email us at todayintitletown@gmail.com. You can call us and leave a voicemail by calling the number 920-430-0711. And you can follow us on Instagram at todayintitletown. And you can DM us there and leave us feedback and rate us 5 stars on iTunes and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate us. That helps a ton. Give us feedback on Instagram or just email us. And that's everything. We'll be back soon. Thank you so much for listening. Go Pack Go.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Forever and always, Go Pack Go.